There we go, guys. So, I think we're ready to go, Tina.
Thank you.
I'll have you go.
And I've just noticed that this U has dropped out of the box. So I've just taken a picture of it and sent it to my wonderful designer, Gaynor. So on the 7th of March, Tuesday the 7th of March this year, I found myself on the stage at the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough. I had been texted 2 days before Sunday lunchtime and asked if I could step in for a speaker who wasn't able to make it. Turns out that that lady had lost a dear friend only the week before, and she didn't have the headspace to be able to actually stand on that stage. I knew exactly what she was going through because I had been in that place in December 2021. Little did I know that I would be going through it again 10 days later. Jen Crowther, and who is the chief exec of Yorkshire in Business, and Margaret Ingleson, who is the founder of Inspire UK, had organised an International Women's Day event. It was a day early, but they'd organised an International Women's Day event as part of an initiative that they run, inspiring women on the Yorkshire coast. And this was an opportunity for speakers to talk to local women and people from local schools about issues that they were facing and understood. Now, I'm sure that some of you may well have not been as happy as I was to be on that stage, because 77% of people hate public speaking. They are glossophobic. I am musophobic. Let me know if you are over lunch. And it's interesting because Judy was talking earlier about another phobe that I can't remember what it was, but tomophobia. So yeah, we're getting all these phobias out there. I gave my presentation and I sat down next to this guy. He is my former business partner. And he said to me, that is probably one of the most passionate presentations I have seen you give. And believe me, he has seen me give a few presentations, because for 10 years, Tony Robinson OBE, that stands for Old Bugger of Enterprise, by the way. He was 70 last year, and he has campaigned for much longer than I have for small businesses. And we had set up something in 2012 called Micro Biz Matters. We wanted to make a difference for micro business owners. Micro business owners are those that employ between 0 and 9. They turn over less than 2 million annually. And for most micro business owners, they'd be grateful to turn over 2 million in a lifetime. But anyway, that's what a micro business owner is. And after 7 annual Micro Biz Matters days, which were 8 hours of online streaming, so very used to this, we were doing it way before it became a thing through COVID. We were leading a trend, little did we know. But having had 7 annual Micro Biz Matters there, and hours and hours and hours of online conversations at networking events like this, people coming to us asking for advice, we decided in January 2022, exactly 10 years to the day since we first founded it, that we would step down to follow our own projects and to also stop ourselves going bankrupt in the process of trying to make a difference, because we had co-founded and co-funded this for 10 years. And let me tell you, when you are campaigning nationally, people all think that you are being funded by somebody and that you should be giving what you are doing for free. We weren't being funded. It's expensive. I looked at Tony when he said to me that was probably one of the most passionate things that you have ever done. And I realised that that was because I was talking about work-life blend. It's something that I'd been working on for more than 12 months since I first founded, even before I founded the Micro Business Mentor Club, an online subscription club that I have where people come together once a month to talk about their well-being and the well-being of their business. And there are people in this room who have been part of that, and they understand the way that I do it is probably not the way that a lot of people do it. I have not only been there and done it, but I've also got not just the t-shirt, but I have a variety of t-shirts in different sizes from different fashion eras, because actually I have been in business for 35 years this year, apart from a very, very brief spell, an employed period at the end of my 30s. It was the most ridiculous idea that I have ever had, and I won't ever do it again. And I've just noticed that this isn't the right bit either, because I've sent you the wrong. But hey, who cares? So 35 years, I'm third generation self-employed. I bought my first business at the age of 21. And I have run businesses all with a customer service focus. I've run business in the hospitality business. That's where my mum and dad started. Pubs and hotels, worked in the family business from the age of 13 before I bought my first business. Property lettings and management, retail. Oh my goodness, I hated the retail business. It was like customers, you waited for ages for one to come along, and then they all came together. And now I campaign and go on and on about keeping the high street alive. But oh yes, retailing. But the one thing that I have learned over the years is that actually it's not all about the money. We run businesses for very different reasons. In my early 20s, when I first bought my first business with my mum, I was very much about the money. I was very much about the nice cars and the going on holiday, and then the house, the bigger house, all those things that we think are important. In my early 30s, I was all about being a mum and juggling, running a business full time, and having two young children, and a husband that worked away all the time that was also self-employed. And how did we do that? And then in my early 40s, I became trustee of a young person's brain tumour charity while still running my business. Some friends of ours had lost their daughter to a brain tumour at age 14, and they wanted to set up a charity. And as I was just explaining to Judy and Annie, what actually happened was Ellie changed my life. I had never met her personally, but she absolutely changed my life, because what I realised was that the most important thing wasn't about the car you drove or the money that you had in the bank and the house that you lived in. Ellie's parents taught me that it was about making memories. It was about doing the different things. It was about making sure that you were living the life that you wanted to live. And there's a quote by Dolly Parton: never be too busy making a living to be making yourself a life. And in fact, I'm just having a sweatshirt printed with that back on the back of as we speak, because I think it's so important for us to remember that. Okay.
It's because this verifying things.
If anybody's
There you go.
watching, we're just having a few technical issues. We'll be back to you in a moment. Yes. And then, of course, people talk about work-life balance. So I'd like to ask you to stand up, please, if you can. And I'd like you to stand on one leg. And then I'd like you to stand on the other leg. and some people are struggling. You see. And then I'd like you to sort of go backwards and forwards like that really quickly, and then so balance is you can sit down. Oh, I so wish I could have turned the camera the other way around. Oh, you missed it. Work-life balance is really hard. In fact, personally, I think work-life balance is an impossible thing to achieve. It's a flawed concept because actually it implies, and I think Mike wrote about this not so long ago in a post, it implies that this is work and this is life. And actually, if you are business owners, that is so not the case. Because when you start a business, it is like having a child or another member of the family or a small puppy that's needy. It's there. It won't go away. It actually wakes you up in the middle of the night. It sits at the dinner table with you and you turn round to get your sprouts and it's sat there looking at you and you think, you go on holiday and you lay on the sunbed and you roll over and it's staring at you in the face and you think, will you just sod off? Because in this world of connectivity that we've got and in this way that we now work, it's not that easy for us to switch off from it. So it's important that we look at how we blend it together. When I first started campaigning, Tony introduced me to a gentleman called Stefan Topfer. And Stefan had an amazing business that he sold for lots and lots of money. And he was a very big German guy. And we had a meeting at his house in the south of England. And he said, I don't have holidays and work days. I work when I want and I holiday when I want. And if I want to work on holiday, I do. And if I want to just switch off, I do. And if I choose to work on a Sunday, that's entirely up to me. I was brought up in the hospitality business. I was used to working 7 days a week. You know, my parents had hotels. We were used to being on call. That's how we used to work. When Stefan said this to me, I wanted to give him a huge hug. But actually, he was a huge guy. And it would look a bit like that GIF where Boo off Monsters Inc. is hugging Sully, and I would have been struggling to get my arms around him. But I was elated with what he'd said to me, and it stuck with me. And it's actually been one of the things that I remember and I talk about. Unfortunately, Stefan's no longer with us, but I remember him for that very little bit of advice he gave me that has helped me right now down to rebranding my business. So I have written a program and I have got 6 key areas of work-life blend. I do believe that you need to have time off. I also understand that if you go on holiday and want to answer your emails for an hour in the morning, that is absolutely fine. And if that is what you want to do, you need to speak to whoever you're on holiday with and explain, this is the way I work. This is what I do. I have done recordings when I have been in Spain on holiday, Mike, and that I've broadcast. And because actually that is fine. It is very, very hard for us to go away, have weekends even, and for us to completely switch off. And we shouldn't be made to feel guilty about it. But what we should do is really understand ourselves before we start. If we don't understand us, we've got no hope of moving this work-life blend thing forward. What do we enjoy? What do we not enjoy? What are we good at? What are we not good at? What do we procrastinate over? What do we jump at doing straight away? And if you want, I have a download for this, for you to be able to do it, and you'll find that actually there are certain things that link, there are certain things that when you look at them across the pattern, that they relate to each other, and you will know that some of the things are very important in your life. Now, we moved house recently. It started last August and ended in January, and my aunt and Judy are all smiling because they've all been on that journey with me. If you follow me on social media, you might have seen my cardboard box Christmas tree. And it wasn't the lack of the damn foliage over Christmas that got me so frustrated. What I knew was I was completely out of control of the situation. Why? Because I know that I am a control freak. If my husband and kids are watching this right now, they'll be sat there going, "Oh, Mum, you did it? Oh, who knew?" And it is a good thing, but it is also one of my problems. Because very often I can't let go. I love everything to be in order. My house, I work from home. I like my cushions puffed and my house immaculately tidy. I blame my parents for bringing me up in the hospitality industry and hotels where everything always had to look right. But that is one of the things that I do. The whole packing up the house, having it in boxes over Christmas, when I like to have people round, I'm that bad that I had to have from my office into my kitchen, I had to leave my hallway exactly as it was. So it wasn't stressing me out every time I went to get a cup of tea or something like that. It is about understanding ourselves. I know I need fresh air. I know I need to eat regularly. I get hangry if I don't. All these things actually have an impact on how we work and what we do. And it's important that we know that. Because when things start to go a little bit wrong, we can look back and go, actually, you know what? I think the reason that I didn't do that was because this is one of the things that I know that I need to be doing in my life. And trust me, I mean, just because I help other people with their well-being and the well-being of their business doesn't stop you getting shit thrown at you. It actually just helps you understand how to deal with it better when it does. But what does your work-life blend look like? Every single one of you in this room, whether you are employed or you're self-employed, you run a micro business, you run a big business, every single one of you, if you're in partnership together, however you are, your work-life blend will look different. Your work-life blend might look different from one week to the next because of your circumstances. As women, our hormonal imbalance might lead us to have a completely different work-life blend necessity one week of the month. As partners of women, we might also need to do that as well, just because life's not the easiest at that certain time. But it is important to understand what we want it to look like. This isn't about goals. This isn't about your long-term vision. This isn't about, this is completely different to the vision of where you might want to be in 5 years' time. This is how you're going to help yourself relieve some brain space, have a more enjoyable situation in what you do to be able to focus on those dreams and goals that you want to achieve. But actually, what we also need to understand is finances. And I was talking to Annie about this, the understanding of our finances. Personal survival income is so important. The number of people that I have worked with and mentored that are starting out in business that don't even know how much they have to earn for their personal survival income, which is fine if you've got a pot of savings, but when it actually comes to those savings drying up and the business not quite having the customers that you need for whatever reason, if you don't understand your personal finances, how the hell can you know how much you need to earn in your business to be able to make that amount of money to keep you going? And one of the biggest stresses you will have, most people have in their lives, is financial stress. We all know when things are tight, we have no money, we might be struggling financially, that this causes a massive amount of stress. And this has an impact on these things here. So we need to understand our finances. I have a very simple cash flow spreadsheet. It's nothing that's too complicated, but it can be adapted for both your personal finances and your business finances. And if you want a copy of that and half an hour to go through it with me, then do feel free, because it amazes me the number of business owners that don't even know what their cash flow needs to look like. They might have it on a system, an accounting system, but how often do they actually look at it? And that helps us to understand where we're making our money. From a business owner point of view, where do we make our most income? Now, to be fair, where we make our most income might fit into a bit of our business that we don't really enjoy doing, and how can we move that from one to the other? But we've got to be realistic about understanding where we make our money. Is that where we make our money? And is that part of the criteria that we set for the work that we really want to do? I have 6 criteria. Does it bring me income? Does it bring me happiness? Does it bring me promotion to bring me income or happiness? I won't work with organisations that take all my knowledge and expertise and use it as their own without crediting me. And I have a lot of knowledge and expertise, and quite often it is taken and used by somebody else. I won't work with organisations that don't have the end user at heart, and I won't work with tossers. And I have a little book, Tina's Little Book of Tossers. I had it printed by a company, and so they made. And it's a blank book. Well, it's not a blank book, actually, because it's got some tossers in there. And you have a date entry, a name entry, and you have a page. It's only A5. And you have a page for the tossery behaviour that they carried out. So that when they come back to you to work with them again, you have to think, oh, did I not put them in my little book of tossers? And you go to your little book of tossers and you go, oh, yes, there it is. Sorry, there's no chance of me working with you again. And again, this is back to systems. Now, it might be a small book with people's names in, but it's implementing a system to make your work-life blend a little bit easier, because who needs to work with tossers if we don't have to? I know that it's not necessarily the case that we don't have to, but you know what I'm trying to say here, people, don't you? Systems are really, really important as part of your work-life blend. And to me, the most basic system is actually a calendar. Now, I'm not talking about if the people in here that don't like technology or apps or anything like that, I'm not talking about having to implement any of those. What I'm talking about is putting some basic time management systems in place, and that is blocking out your time in your diary according to what it is that you have to or need to do. I have a client that I work with, and she has 2 young children, and between a certain period of every day she has to focus on those children. But what she was trying to do was focus on the children and juggle the business. 2 businesses and a new business, juggle them at the same time. Her husband came in from work later, the kids were normally gone to bed. So I said to her, why don't you block out that time slot between 3 and 6 in your diary, Monday to Friday? The managers in your 2 businesses know that you're not going to be actually available at those times, and then work 2 evenings for a couple of hours when your husband is able to, if the kids wake up or he can do whatever. And she said, I've never really thought about that, because actually what I'm trying to do is juggle everything. I'm trying to keep it all going. And she's done it, and it's implemented. And actually the managers in the business now go, oh no, we don't speak to between that time and that time. Or if we do, we send a message, but we know we're not going to get a response until afterwards. And actually, I can see some of you thinking, it's all right, her standing there talking about this, but I'll never be able to do it. You might not at first think you're able to do it, but it's keep going back to it and keep going back to it. And actually, it's a process and a system and a process and a policy and a procedure that you implement. Calendarly for me, it's revolutionised my world. For £12.99 a month, I don't have to go backwards and forwards to people, getting that, oh, what date can you do? I can do this day at this time. Oh, da, 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 da. I send them a link. They can access my diary. I book out the days I don't want to work and the times I don't want to work. They just book the time in. It's just wonderful. And it's not expensive. And it's actually then having these systems in place, however you want that system to look, whatever you want it to look like, it's implementing them. And as part of that, you will also come to understand about having the right crowd around you. You've come here today to meet people. Ant's just said to me, well, I find when I come here, it's more about the support that I get. Monthly, I have peer mentoring groups online. We sit, we chat about the well-being of ourselves and the well-being of our business. Yes, I work with people to help them grow their business, but unless you're right, unless your well-being is right, then the well-being of your business will never be right. And one impacts the other. Seriously impacts the other. If you don't have that crowd around you, those that promote you, those that support you, and those that buy from you, if you don't have the right people around you, then unfortunately, it's not going to be easy to be able to do what you're doing. And it doesn't need to be a big crowd. It can be a little crowd. It can meet in a phone box, if there still are phone boxes anywhere, and can meet box to get together. We don't have to have masses and masses and masses and masses of people in our network. You know, I've worked with lots of people and, oh, well, so-and-so's got 10,000 followers on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, but how many of those followers are actually engaging with them? It's about the people that will go out and talk about you when you're not in the room and say all the right things in your support network. It's about the people that will buy from you and want to come back and buy from you again. It's all about making sure that we build the right crowd and then keep on track. I'm hosting my first in-person workshop in Leeds on the 27th of June. Oh my goodness, how excited am I? It's been 5 years since I've been in Leeds for an in-person group session. But after that session, which is all about these 6 key elements, and we'll expand on it, I am having 2 accountability online sessions. Why? Because how many of us go to workshops, we don't implement one damn thing that we have learnt. We go away and go, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll look at that tomorrow, but we don't. So there will be an online session 2 weeks later and another one 10 weeks later, you know, when you've really fallen off the wagon. And it's all about keeping on track. And life, as I've already said, doesn't stop throwing things at us because we're trying to create this beautiful work-life blend. No, it will still, shit happens, it will still happen. And it's important, though, that we have the right tools in place to help us to get back on track. Whether that's understanding ourselves and going, oh, yeah, well, that happened because of that, and it didn't that's what I wanted to do, or I don't enjoy that, or that happened because we had, you know, bad financial quarter, or I didn't have the right system in place, or, you know, I didn't turn to my crowd for support. But it's actually making sure that blend, that mix of what you do is there, understanding the tools to make it happen. And I'm more than happy to chat to any of you today, and including, I'm going to be talking to my designer lady to make sure I get all my slides back in the right place, the lovely Gainer. And I would like you to, become a work-life blender. And I was going to have a pop-up, but I decided I'd have a selfie frame instead and get other people to put their face in here and to become a work-life blender. And if I can help you do that, then please come and have a word with me later. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Tina? quickly, we've had one online. We actually had quite a lot of people watching this, Tina.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's been live on the old internet.
Are we still live?
We are still live. So Kevin very kindly asked about, well, first before that, one thing I've learned about today is how good the auto captions is on LinkedIn. For you this Judy, it's very good at picking up the word tosser. So, and that's on my LinkedIn. I might get banned from LinkedIn now.
I'd like to apologise.
But anyway, so Kevin asked about how you handle tossers. In his experience, yesterday's tosser can turn out to be a lucrative source in the future. You might need to be resilient at times to learn how to deal with difficult people. I'd be interested to know your views on that.
I think so. Yeah, I get it. For me, and we are all different, and this is subjective, and everybody deals with things in a different way. But I think if somebody takes the wrong attitude, not just having a bad day type of attitude where you can sit and you can talk about it, but there is, if I drill down deeper, and I'm not going to in this session because it was 30 minutes, but if I drill down deeper, there's also certain types of people that you know, the ones that want you to do that extra thing for them for nothing. John and I were talking about that. You know, the ones that you know are always going to come back to you and go, oh, well, this isn't what we said. This isn't what we agreed in the, you know, those people, you pick up on that. If you're a people person, you pick up on that very early in any conversation. Those are the type of people that go in my book, the ones I don't want to work with. And okay, so I might have cut off my own stream somewhere further down the line, but equally, I am more about my work-life blend, and I don't want to have to go through a hard process to get there. Life is way too short. Hope if I can debate this much longer when I'm not in front of the camera, Kevin, if you'd like to pick up a conversation with me about it.
What you've said used to be called be true to yourself.
Yeah, it is. And this, for me, being true to yourself and understanding it's all about you, is actually understanding yourself so you can be true to yourself. And that is exactly the situation for me, because unless you understand yourself and are true to yourself, then you can't get that work-life blend and understanding in place. And it's also about saying no. Because as business owners, okay, so 35 years in business, third generation self-employed, even people that are starting up will come to me that I'm mentoring, and they go, oh, well, I said yes to this person. I'm like, right, we had 5 criteria and that didn't, you know, it's not fit. Why have you said, oh, well, because they said, okay. And then they'll come back to me 6 months later. Not every time, but, you know, sometimes we're amazed by people, but mostly they'll come, you were right. Actually, if I'd just followed those guidelines, this is impacting what I'm doing down the line.
Thank you.
Has anybody got any? If you have got questions, please come and talk to me.
Yeah, obviously, you can grab you as the day goes
and
on.
I'd love to get a selfie of you.
Yeah, get some selfies, social media, and all that kind of nonsense. Thank you very much, Tina.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
everyone.
for having me.
If you can give me 30 seconds to start the lunch, then we can crack on with that bit. We're here for the rest of the day and just continue as you were doing. Stay as long as you want, short as you want, whatever you need to do. Yeah, we'll go from there. All okay with everyone?
Yeah.
I'll stop the live stream now, so.